It's alive. Now, something funny is said up there about me, and everybody just claps. They just start clapping. Just a natural kind of thing that happens among real Americans. Happy Monday, everyone. What a great show we have today. First of all, Judge Janine is here. Here she is, pulling into town. Yeah. R.I.P. It's the only carpool that comes with a lifeguard. Dagan McDowell is also joining us. And, of course, she arrived right behind the judge. Nice. She was a poor mountaineer. Barely kept her family fed. So I'm thinking something really big took place this weekend. I know I'm not talking about finally getting my wart removed, which incidentally drew more viewers than Don Lemon tonight. It's not the Super Bowl, which proved once and for all that masks are only for peons. No, it's something the media prefers not to cover, unlike their own bloated butts. And it's about their once favorite topic, the Russians. Except it's not their favorite anymore, Judge. Without their preferred storyline, they buried it like a drifter in the woods. Remember that? Because it's no longer about Trump, it's about Hillary. And not Duff or Swank or the sexiest one of all, Sir Edmund. Take it away, John Scott.
A shocking revelation in the Durham probe of the Trump-Russia investigation. New filings allege that Hillary Clinton's campaign paid a tech company to infiltrate servers at Trump Tower and later inside the White House to try to create a Russian collusion narrative.
Tech executive one and his associates exploited this arrangement by mining the executive office of the president's DNS traffic and other data for the purpose of gathering derogatory information about Donald Trump.
There you go. They didn't just do this before the election, but even after he became president. It's connected to a criminal case against Hillary's lawyer, Michael Sussman, who fed the FBI and the CIA the fake Alpha Bank story. Remember that? He's also accused of lying when he told the FBI he wasn't representing any client. This guy makes Avenatti look like Thurgood Marshall. So it turns out Hillary does know how a server works, except for the one that kept her emails in a bathroom closet. But you won't hear much about that today, because the legacy media will avoid it like a fat, ugly baby. Case in point, we went over to take a look at what was on CNN's homepage, and here's what we found right now. Yes. If I could only find something that brings me that much joy. But actually, it was worse than that. Their big story on CNN stating that Joe Rogan's use of the N-word is another January 6th. I wonder if anyone at CNN pulled a hamstring making that stretch. But that's CNN's definition of news. When one hysterical hoax collapses, they create another, like they're a rotten chef constantly attempting a souffle and failing. But there's a reason why the press can't cover this story. Because if they cover it, they end up having to cover their own cover-up. That's a lot of work. It's the same reason we can't get to the bottom of any of their claims, because at the bottom is their own asinine complicity. Remember this classic 60 Minutes moment?
The biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
There's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is. No. It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
And so rather than cover the big story, bigger than January 6th, Watergate and crop tops on men combined, sorry, Chadwick, they go back to the Rogan buffet and fill up on the same old hysterics. They've just replaced Trump with Joe. The good news, even Dems see through this. According to one poll, pile of Dems want to see Hillary investigated, if only to stop her from running for president every 4 years until 2084. Roughly 3 out of 4 of those polled said they think it's important that prosecutors investigate Clinton for her role in Russiagate. That includes 66% of Dems. So you'd think the media, who caters to Democrats like they're royalty, would embrace this story, since so many Democrats want to know more. But they can't, because it calls into question the last 6 years of their bogus. It exposes their corruption. Turns out the Trump-Russian collusion story was just a deflection from the Hillary-Russian collusion story. It's a terrific strategy, really. When you're afraid of being accused of being unfaithful, just accuse your partner first. When someone's on the defensive, it's just harder for them to come after you for real crimes. That's true of the Russian story, the everyone is racist story, the all cops are bastards narrative, and the COVID story. Remember when it was racist to be for the travel ban? Each example deflects from something similar and awful that the left is doing. It's the Russian case. In the Russian case, they went hog wild for years, creating accusations, conflict, and anger. Think of the strife, the emotional cost, not to mention Trump supporters being targeted just because their guy won. Of course, there needs to be a trial, but no doubt it will be ignored by the same nincompoops, yes, I use that word, who drooled every time Robert Mueller broke wind. And who can forget this guy? Do you think he'll say it's worse than Watergate?
What we are watching in the Trump presidency is worse than Watergate. I keep getting asked, are there echoes of Watergate in this? And there are. We're also witnessing something we did not see in Watergate, which is a meltdown by a president who is demonstrably unhinged. What we're seeing is worse than Watergate.
What a journalistic one-hit wonder. He had a chart topper in the 70s. It was called Watergate, and all he does is play it at weddings and funerals. He's the Milli Vanilli of commentators, except they actually had better material. Of course, his story barely merits a sigh because so many journalists made money, got promotions, landed cushy jobs because of Russiagate. It was CNN's bread and butter for years. If you don't believe me, look at Stelter's waistline. So now we've learned that this is way worse than just spying. Some might say it's a conspiracy to destroy a presidency, an actual threat to democracy. But those some don't work at the networks that caused this very mess. Or they might say this is indeed worse than January 6th because it helped justify it. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She uses a gavel to bring justice to people and to make chicken tender before cooking it. Co-host of The Five, Judge Jeanine Pirro. She'll say, bless your heart, right before she rips it out of you. Fox Business anchor Dagan McDowell. He's aggravated more gay men than a canceled Lady Gaga concert. Outspoken editor-in-chief and contributing editor of The Spectator, Chadwick Moore. And finally, for Valentine's Day, she crushed up her candy hearts and snorted them off Cupid's butt. Fox News contributor, Kat Tipp. I read that one. Judge, great to see you. You look fantastic. Can I say that?
Yes, I like your tie too.
Well, I didn't tie it very well today.
Well, but you wore it for Valentine's Day, right?
No, I didn't.
What, you just
I wore it
picked
for
the
you,
red
Judge.
tie out?
I wore it for you.
Thank you. For all your women fans. Go
Yes,
ahead.
I've got millions
And
of
men
all
fans.
ages, I might
Men
add.
fans.
Yes, I have to beat them
Animal
off when I leave.
fans.
Well, let's get to this topic, okay? You're already annoying me. What happens next? If you don't have a media that pushes that this story get covered, then they don't have to cover it.
I'll tell you what happens next. Apparently, some of the people involved and all of the people involved in the creation of that narrative where Hillary Clinton's campaign hired people to make it look like Donald Trump was working with Russia and a Russian bank and therefore is a Putin asset and a Russian a Putin puppet. All of those people who know they're responsible are now shivering in their boots because they know they've got the network now. They know they've got the causation, they've got the connection, and they're actually looking. This filing that came out is really about attorneys representing the same, representing similar people. They're bouncing one of the attorneys off. And I think one of those attorneys might be Mark Elias. I could be wrong about that. But you can't represent several people who are going to be accused in this investigation. Bottom line is this. They're getting close to indictments, and they will indict. People are now giving information. They've got an organized criminal enterprise. This is a fraud against the United States government. They not only tried to surveil a campaign, but actually had some kind of surveillance in the White House. I mean, this is an outrageous scenario. And the American people should be furious because you mentioned it in your open. We were at each other's throats for years.
Yeah.
And we spent all this money on Mueller, who's a zero, who came up with none of this, and now we've got a real prosecutor.
You're right. Think about that. I actually murdered a family of 5 during a conversation about this. And Dagan, it was like, if this thing wasn't framed like this, that family would be alive, Dagan. Would be alive. I blame I blame them, the
Murder
family.
them with your feet.
Yes,
So awesome.
my bare feet, stomp them.
I have my own little conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Actually, it's not even conspiracy theory. It's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
The media are trying to take down Joe Rogan because there is nothing more frightening to them than somebody who can't be controlled, who doesn't give a about being part of the media maroon coven, if you will. Somebody with 11 million viewers and listeners that if Rogan really starts digging into this Russia collusion hoax, I think that this is their way of trying to silence Rogan and anybody else. It's why did CNN go after Fox? Well, because Fox has been winning for 20 years, but it's the same thing, that they don't want a light shined on the media malfeasance of covering up for Clinton and pushing this, because this goes beyond just the Russia hoax and what was going on leading up to the election, but it also extended into Trump's tenure, which is essentially a coup. And like, why are Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, why are they having this holier-than-thou January 6th committee?
They like their new friends. They like their new friends.
It is a riot. I understand that. But there's plenty of videotape. Why not have some hearings about what happened with Clinton?
People, human beings like new friends, especially if the new friends hated them at first. So they're getting this strange new respect from the Democrats. That makes them feel really good. And they're going like, it's more fun to have a liberal like me than have my old Republican friends hanging out with me. Chadwick, is this worse than Watergate?
Well, the court filings.
You're supposed to say yes.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
You're always right. You know that.
Yeah.
The court filing says very clearly that President Trump was spied on in the White House.
Yes.
And I heard, Richard Grenell, who was at DNI, say this very same thing. How the hell do you spy on the White House without help from someone inside the government?
Mm-hmm. That's
I mean,
a good
that
question.
I think is the biggest, what might come to light here, and the most terrifying thing. Someone who inside government knew about this, who was in on it, and who helped the spying. But you're correct.
Barack Obama, or shall I say Barack Hussein Obama?
Well, what did Obama and Joe Biden know when the campaign was spying on Trump also?
Yes, yeah.
Will they be indicted or brought into this? Who knows?
Yeah. This is very, very interesting, Kat. Have you recovered from your weekend of Super Bowl mania?
It's so bad.
Yes.
I was going to ask them to change the channel at the bar.
That's true. I was there.
Everyone said, no, we like this. Or some variation of that.
Did you have any relationships or parts of your life that were damaged by this incredible hoax?
Yes. I mean, obviously, I think everybody has. And what's crazy about this not being covered is, like, these are court documents from a federal prosecutor, which is like a step or two above anonymous sources say. But they love those.
Yes, they love those.
They love those.
We've got 4 years of them.
Yeah, and it's that jump all over that, but not this. And, I get that they're busy because they have to connect Joe Rogan to not only January 6th, but the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. That was that article said, like, there's going to be genocide because, I mean, like, that is a jump. I consider myself a creative person. I don't think I could have thought of that.
No, that was pretty. I was impressed by that. The writing there. I mean, it was awful. But you got to be a particularly bad kind of writer.
It's like so many people are like dumb and like do dumb things, but so few are like Snooki, where they can become richer than I'll ever be off of that. This was like a version of that.
Yeah, he was an intellectual Snooki. No, he was he was a dumb version of Snooki, because Snooki is brilliant. One of the great minds of the 21st century.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.